Right, here we go. This is the first time I've ever tried doing this, so I'm expecting to get into all sorts of trouble. But here we go. This is a photograph I took this morning in Allen Waters, which is a place where I go very regularly to walk the dogs. Beautiful sunny day. And it's just a snap I took with the phone. I printed it out and I'm going to have a go at painting it in acrylics. So here's my palette. What I'm using is just a straightforward chopping board, very easy to use. Use it, just scrapes off and you can use it again. Colours, I've got titanium white, ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, cadmium yellow, burnt sienna, burnt umber and hooker's green, which is a really good mixing colour. So off I go. Put the picture to one side where I can see it, and first of all I'm going to start out by just putting in a bit of sky, not using any mediums, just a little dab of water. Damp brush, start off with white. I've pre-covered the board, it's just a straightforward painting board from, I think, Jackson's Art Supplies, and I've given it a single coat of I think it was raw umber that I brushed in and then wiped off with a cloth just to give it a bit of warmth underneath it, because I knew I was going to be painting a sunny picture. Well, I hoped I would anyway. All I'm doing now is slapping the paint on as quick as I can just to get the sky covered. I'm going to be going just over half, maybe 2/3 of the way down with the sky. A lot of people fade out as they go to the bottom. I'm going to do it the other way round. I'm going to put more blue in the top later on, but before it dries. And there we go. Scribbling it on all over. Not taking any care with it at all as yet. All I want to do is get some paint on the paper as quickly as possible. I would have been quicker if I'd used a bigger brush, but this is the one I had handy, so I'm using it. I'm not going to try doing a complete and faithful copy of the picture. I'm using the picture as a basis for my painting. I've got plenty of cameras for when I want to take things which are exactly right, and in fact I could never paint anything quite as beautiful or as detailed as that. So here we go. I'm just messing around with paint because it's such a good thing to do. You may have noticed I haven't done any drawing at this stage. I might sketch in where the main trees are going later on, but at the moment I'm just playing it by ear. just a smidge of that to grey down the sky a little bit. Just a touch of red in there. Really was a beautiful day. The dogs were going bonkers as I was running along here. Well, I wasn't running, the dogs were running. We had a lovely time, met lots of their doggy friends, thoroughly enjoyed a day out in the sunshine. Slapping in a few clouds just to get the feel of it. I'm just putting some highlights to the top edge of the cloud. I shall fade a little bit of depth with a slight grey colour underneath it, just to give it a little bit of base. A little bit of a sunny sky with some fast floating about little clouds, and there we go. So there we go, that's the sky. Dump that in the bucket and we'll get started. Now, you see, it's nothing at all like it, but we've got in that third over there, we're going to have a tree just nicely bursting into leaf. There's that beautiful silver birch, which is just starting to come into leaf as well. I'm going to have trouble doing the little frondy bits, but we'll have a go. And then there's the rough grass and bushes in the foreground. And all the way over in the far right, there's actually a gorse bush, which was a beautiful cadmium yellow, which I shall bring further in when I do the painting. So that's where we are at the moment. Let's drop in some of the, start off with a bit of yellow ochre, touch of the blue, and there we go. There's no real distance in this. I was standing at the bottom of a bank, which was the highest thing for miles around. Across the top there's a football pitch. Nobody playing football today, just several people walking their dogs. And that's the background. It down. I'm using some Hooker's Green. A lot of people will say to you, you should never ever use Hooker's, well, green, prepared greens, but I never use it as it stands, but I tend to use Hooker's Green as a base for mixing other greens. By the time you put any of these other colours with it, you've got a full range of greens. At the moment I'm mixing it with the yellow ochre, and we're just bringing a little more density of colour as we come further forward. Again, it's all very rough and ready, there's nothing much happening, it's just rough ground, and that's all we want it to be at the moment. Bring it further forward, I'll stick a little bit more of the yellow and the green, warm it up a little bit as it comes forward. There's no real rhyme, no reason. I'm not trying to paint every blade of grass. I'm just getting some colour down on the paper. Well, it's not paper, on the canvas. So there, that's that. That in there. And now I think what I'll do, I'll use one of my, first thing I'll do is have a cuppa. And then I shall use one of my System 3 brushes and some white, just a hint of the umber to get that lovely tree colour. And I'll just indicate the main trunk where I want that tree to go. And it's going to go somewhere along there. That's the main trunk. More little branches going off sideways, and it's got a little baby brother by the side of it, another one coming up there, and there, that's roughly where the tree's going to go. Now that brush, and the tree on this side is a much darker tree, so we'll use the umber more than anything else, give us a nice dark sort of colour there, bit of blue in with it, and you've got this nice browny grey colour. And then this is a much more spreadier thing, I think it's a hawthorn if I remember rightly. We've got lots of brushes, branches just going off all over the place. Whoops. There you go. Didn't point my brush enough, and I've got long, thick, but it doesn't matter because I'll just bury them underneath when the time comes for doing it. So there. There's that brush. I'm putting shadows in and giving the tree some shape. Using the side of the brush. And of course, the beautiful thing about acrylics is it doesn't matter what you do with it, because you can always go over it afterwards if it's wrong. And there. That's that. Back to a bristle brush now. Just give that 2 minutes to dry, and I'll do some stuff over here while it's drying and put some detail into the background there. Use a bit of the umber, touch of the green, and we've got that nice dark colour, smidge of blue just to take it back. And I'm going to do this dark bush behind there. No detail, it's just a blob of colour. Using the brush to give a little bit of shape to it, so as it may be, hopefully looks a little bit as if it's growing. Spiky shape to it. And there we go, that's that bush at the back. Merge it into the bank, and there's a bit more dark stuff going along at the top. Nice contrast between the sky and the grasses at the top, and that's starting to take some sort of a shape at the moment. You might notice that I'm holding my brush. Brushes have got long handles for a reason. That's so you can hold them further away, and actually you've got a lot more control over a brush. Do lots of different things with it if you hold it further on. And you can also get longer strokes if you want. As I say, all I'm looking at the moment is just trying to get a little bit of the feeling of jumbled up grasses, bushes and rough ground. It's not meant to be a portrait of the place where I was, it's just a basis for something which hopefully will look a bit like a pretty picture when we've finished it, and capture something of this beautiful afternoon we had out there with the wind and the dogs. There we go. And the yellow ochre, it's very dry, this yellow ochre, it's very old tube, but it's still working all right. I know how it feels. It's getting lost at the moment, but we shall do something later on to bring some light into it. What we need is a little bit of light. We've got slightly different planes now. Now, on this side, there's these sort of brambly teasel things which I should put in, and then I'm going to have to put this big dark green bush in just to space everything out. So for the teasely brambly things we need a bit of pinky red, a bit of the dark, and then away we go. Again, this is just putting the splodges of colour, technical term, splodge of colour, just where it goes. So that I can tidy things up a bit later on. There's that, and in front of it we've got sunlit grass, dead grass in front, so we can put those in. Lots of light striking from that side. Now here we've got a big deep green bush, so we'll use the hooker's green, dab of the ultramarine to tie it down a bit, and just a touch of the cadmium, and there we go. The big brush actually goes right the way over there. It's very dark on that side. Getting lighter as it comes into the sun. Always dark underneath, so put a bit of the blue and the umber, and there, big dark bush. I shall put some lights in it later on. Now we've got more stuff coming down there in the background. What I'm trying to do is use the brush strokes to show some of the contours of the land. We've got lighter green, there, a little bit of contrast underneath the bush, and then some more of this reddy coloured stuff underneath it. Bring up there, tie it in. We'll tidy off a bit of darker shadow across the background there, going up into the bush, tree, whatever it is. find it. But not quite as dark as that because it's further back. A harder edge there, so that stands out a bit more. Again, we're not in the finished level yet, we're just getting a little bit of contour, a bit of shape, trying to find our way through where we are. Bring in these. Look in the picture, which I'm not going to show you again just yet. There's darker things growing amidst some lighter stuff. So it's just a question of splodges, just to give an impression that there's lots of different things going on here. I'm just trying to keep stuff happening all over the canvas at the moment so that I can see how this is going to grow out of itself. I don't need much there because there's going to be a lot of branches and new twigs growing there. Now, next thing I want to do is to show the contour of the land there. To do that, I'm going to start off some of the yellow ochre. I'll put some white with it just to make it nice and bright, because this is the side the light's coming from. There we go. Lovely bright sunny light coming through there. Just picking up on the grasses, moving into there, coming along the front here. Very sudden at the moment, but we shall soon get rid of it and tie it back down again. Just put a little bit of light catching that tree. The same here in the brushes. Bit of contrast, we need to go a bit darker in some places, just so that it stands out. It took me a long time to realise that it's not the lights that make things light, it's the shadows in contrast that show you how bright and sunny something is. Very dry in here with all the lights on, so I'm just giving my paints a little zap, a little mist, stop them from drying out completely when I'm still trying to paint with them, which would be a bit of a disaster. well, for me. So there we go. Now this is the fun bit where it gets almost abstract. I'm just playing around now with colour and shapes. It doesn't really need to be anything in particular. It would be very silly just to try and do every single blade of grass, but as it was, it's rough ground, make it look rough. Put the right sort of colours in, some greens, some lovely reddy colour brown. All this long scrubby grass. It doesn't need to look like anything yet, just marks. By using this raw sienna, burnt sienna rather, it warms everything up as it comes forward, and warm colours come forward, cool blue colours go to the back. So all this in the background makes the whole thing sit down where it's supposed to on the canvas. Lots of shadowy bits in the rough grass. And some highlights. So there we've got a bit of rough ground coming towards us. And in the front we have nice sunlit grass, so we'll do the hooker's green, dash of yellow to warm it up, and this is much shorter because dogs run about on this all the time. Bunny rabbits out at night eating it. And my little granddaughter goes running about on it whenever she can, bouncing up and down, having a wonderful time. So there we go. Just go. Playing around with warm and cool colours just to get things to come forward or go back on the plane. I'm not really looking at all at what I'm painting from now. I'm just doing a sort of abstract. play around with the foreground, see what's there. There's some more grassy, cool dear. That's not a good mix, but I'll cover it up in a minute. There. See? Doesn't matter how many mistakes you make, you can just go over them. Or if you're not quite as honest as me, pretend that they were supposed to happen in the first place. A sort of bushy thing. There is one about there somewhere. But we'll put some darks underneath it, give it a bit of a base. See, I like the light and dark there. And then this much warmer echo coming down in front of it. Right, I might do a little bit more detail in there later on. At the moment, I'm going to do sort of bushy that's in there. Now what I've done now is I'm smashing the brush up on there, get some greens and some yellows. And then I'm just going to go on that brush, on that bush, just to break up the darks, put a bit more light in it. There you go. Now, we get the tricky bit now. Done all the easy stuff. Now, got to try and make those two trees look just like trees. And they're not very easy to do, those. But we shall have a go. Right, I'm going to use a rather battered System 3 brush, which I've had for donkey's years, but hard as nails, these brushes, they go on forever. Ferrule's come off and it's been stuck back on with gaffer tape, and look, it's still practically as good as it was when it was new. So now using some very, very thin paint, sort of browny, reddy glaze. I'm just going to and the brushes. That's some of that beautiful shape that you get with birch trees. Now this isn't finished, this is basically just showing where the shapes are. They're darker on this side away from the light, so perhaps I've done a bit too much there, but never mind. You haven't seen my tree and it'll be totally different tomorrow, so I can pretend as much as I like that this is how it used to be. So that's all the twiggy, bristly things on that side. This tree is a totally different kettle of fish. It's a much harder, scrubbier tree. So we'll make some darks to start with. Again, using this brush, I'm gonna sort of filigree of branches in the back. Very dark, harsh root down the bottom. These branches spreading out like a fan all the way. And then darker bits. It's a lot more dense, this one. But it's still not in its summer foliage, so we've still got to be careful. And what I'm doing here is I'm just using the grain of the canvas to do my job for me. Show where all those little leaves are standing out. Two different trees, totally and absolutely different breeds, different families, different shapes, different everything, and painted completely different ways. Now that bit there is crying out for something nice and light to go on it. So while I remember, I'll mix up some nice light foliage, which will bring us into the gorse bush, which I'm going to put in the front here, really far forward. So there, we've got that. Now, put him to one side. I need this is a beautiful brush. This is a bristle rigger by Rosemary & Co, which is superb for doing all sorts of things in detail, and I'll show you not quite so much detail later on. So now it's time to do a little bit more detail on this beautiful birch tree. So first of all, I'm going to reinforce the light. All that done. We need to give it a little bit of shape, so I'll get some dark. In this case it's the burnt umber, touch of ultramarine, to lighten it a little bit with the yellow ochre, and that should be enough. To give it a little bit of shape. I need a little bit more water. that's not sitting as far back as it should. Same on that side. Right, now we need spring green, lots of yellow, lots of white, just a tad, tiniest touch of the hooker's green. Now that's all mixed up there, and let's see about using this rigger again, but I'm going to use the side of the brush to try and show just where those darken it all down a bit to get the shady bits. Right, that's the beginning of that. Still needs a little bit of work, but that one is a really knackered old brush. Don't know if you can see that. very rough and ready. I use it a lot for foliage. And here we go. I'm going to put the darks in first on this tree. Almost black. And we'll go now. Complete contrast. Make another lovely light spring green over here. A bit of white to lighten it. Completely different colour green from that one. In fact, it still needs a bit more yellow, I think. Touch of white and bash it in all over there. We have a lot more greens. Bashy brush on this side as well. Just a quick impression. Now I need to do this gauche bus. Not saying my H's properly today for some reason. But right, nice and dark in the middle. And we'll say it's here. That contrasts with the light over there.